take it with a grain of salt. But pretty much the word is that the defense pretty much dominated. Defense dominated throughout the spring, and obviously defense dominated this showing as well, right? Like I said, no Arch Manning, no Colin Simmons, no Cam Coleman, no Ryan Wingo, and a few other offensive players expect to have major roles this season pretty much didn't practice or play in that scrimmage, right? Even the 7-on-7 sessions, which included Manning and offensive stars. So the defense mostly denied end zone access to the offense, right? Good things to see from the offense, younger prospects like Jermaine Bishop, Derek Cooper, who's been getting a lot of talk, getting praise. He's been compared to Bijan Robinson, even by the coaching staff. So he's a guy that got a lot of burn in obviously the matchup and showed his potential. And obviously Richard Wesley among the young cornerbacks. We know at that cornerback 3 spot, that nickel is going to be Grayson Littleton. He pretty much, got in there as a freshman and locked down that spot. So he's looked good there, obviously, of course. Sorry, y'all, my stuff is buffering. Hold on one second. Okay, so obviously, he looked good there. We know what he's going to bring to the table. But the one thing I will say is, you want to see the Texas defense be more physical for one, and obviously more dominant. That was the big kind of marker this year for Texas. That's why they went out and got Will Muschamp, right? They wanted to be a more physical team in the unit. And the fact that they were dominating in these sessions, the 7-on-7s, the 11-on-11s, whatever you want to call it, definitely tells me a lot and tells me that this is going to be a team that's more aggressive, more physical, and they can just blanket guys and make it tough for them. And they got some pretty good receivers, Texas does. So he says, I observed the defense spinning into a single high coverages pretty regularly, most zone match and straight man, while in 7-on-7 and in full scrimmage. For the most part, everything was contested, and defenders were glued to every single skill player. They mostly played basic 4-down over fronts in the scrimmage, with when Ian Jeffrard and Hero Canoe were on the field together. The interior was completely impassable in the run game. Canoe's a big guy, but he looks small next to Jeffrard. Coverages were more varied than the fronts, and they ran what must have been close to the full gamut of standard down coverages in this one. Everything was disguised until late, and the quarterbacks were really up against it and trying to identify anything. Says it has offensive promise. One of the big names out of obviously the spring has been Malik Brown, right? Bowling Ball, I think, one of the running backs coaches compared him to a Tasmanian devil. What I'm saying, which is how difficult he is. And like I said, this unit got better. Look at last year, CJ Baxter. This year, you bring in Hollywood Smothers. You bring in Malik Brown. You have more depth. You have a potent 1-2 punch. And then you throw in Derek Cooper as well, who should have some kind of a role this year, despite those 2 running backs being in there. This is a pretty good running back room when you look at it, obviously, from that standpoint for the Texas Longhorns, right? He scored on a punt return drill, and obviously, he's looked really good so far. Michael Terry, obviously a receiver that's still looking to be effective and make a lot of different plays. Dalen McCutcheon is another one. He was the stars of the show for the receiving corps. And obviously with those 2 receivers, Ryan Wingo, Cam Coleman, they're going to need other ones because they're going to draw a lot of the attention. So this is where guys, like he said, Michael Terry and the Dalen McCutcheons, this is where they come in because they're not going to get all the attention, right? Those other guys are. So they're going to have to be able to make plays consistently and be able to obviously burn the defense. He had a terrific catch in the scrimmage on a corner route, perhaps the brightest moment of obviously that portion, right? And then here is the starting lineup as he has it: Colin Simmons, Murad Watson, Alex January, Lance Jackson, Rasheem Biles, no surprise there. That's the transfer over from obviously Pittsburgh. Justin Cryer, Brad Spence, Kobe Black, pretty good cornerback, man, probably one of the best on the team. Grayson Littleton, we know about him in the slot. Derek Williams, Jelani McDonald, Bo Mascow. All right, and then Colton Bassick, Ian Jeffrard, Henry Canoe, Zena Yu, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, Tyler Atkinson, the true freshman phenom, Rocky Cummings, Cozy Okapala, Cade Phillips, Bo Mascow, Jonathan Cunningham, Jordan Johnson, Rubel, and Warren Robertson. Robertson, as some other players that would be backing up, obviously, there. But what I take from it is, what's up? Sorry about that, y'all. But what I take from it is this is a team that has a pretty good defense. They're strong, they're fast, and physical. They can plaster people. They can run different match schemes, zone schemes, and they can disguise different coverages, right? So I feel like this team is going to be much better defensively than compared to where they were a year ago. Offensively, like I told y'all, Arch Manning, Malik Brown, obviously Spencer Shannon, Nick Townsend, Dalen McCutcheon, obviously out of that slot. Ryan Wingo, Cam Coleman, Trevor Gooseby, big time tackle they got. Jaden Chapman, Connor Robinson, Brandon Baker, and then Melvin Siani. All right, so that's kind of what he has in terms of the depth chart. Now, another quick thought he had, he said, if you were going to describe the defense in one word, it would be pressure. The speed of some of these blitzes was as bewildering from the stands as it might have been from the offensive line, right? Bewildering just means confusing. Biles was a complete blur, absolutely ripped through the entire interior multiple times to apply near immediate pressure. When Atkinson had his chances, it was similar. From watching the scrimmage, you wouldn't have guessed the team had a nationally elite pass rusher who wasn't even involved. These pressures are also being paired with tight coverage from the back end, often from single high safety rotations, and there simply isn't anywhere to go with the ball where there isn't a highly skilled athlete in coverage. So there it is, kind of just soaking up the blitzes, throwing different things at their way, having two athletic linebackers in Tyler Atkinson and Rasheem Biles to kind of speed up the quarterback, and then playing plastic coverage on the back end. Again, that's not probably something they're going to always do next season, but it is something that they use in the scrimmage, and the quarterback struggle with it with Arch not really playing. Obviously, KJ Lacey being in there, Dia Bell being in there. You know what I'm saying? So very interesting to say the least. But pretty much what I gathered from it is the defensive line dominated, and this room looks really good. And as it says here in pretty much the headline, Sunday six pack defense looks legit. Running back room is upgraded, right? And that's what they want. Defense was good last year, but it was not elite, right? It did not show Texas football. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what they want. They want an elite defense, excuse me, y'all, elite defense that can make plays consistently and obviously can disrupt people. They have that. They have an upgraded linebacker room, a lot upgraded running back room, excuse me, very deep, 3 to 4 guys deep. And this team is going to be able to do a lot of different things, man. So that was my biggest pillaways from Texas. I think they'll be just fine. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of pressure this year, but throwing Rasheem Biles and Tyler and those guys can rotate in. And then with Colin Simmons on the defensive line, with Jeff Farrar, with those guys on the interior, this defense should be a lot better in 2026. They should be able to make a lot more plays, obviously, with a new, obviously, defensive coordinator in the fold and Will Muschamp. All right.